Well, I'm joined once again by my good friend Andy Godfrey from Sorted Magazine and Outreach UK. Hi, Andy. How are you doing?
Hi, Nathan. It's great to be with you. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, great to hear
Can't
you.
believe how quickly a week goes by.
It is crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Well, looking forward to hearing about some more, or talking more about movies. All things movies and cinema. I understand again there haven't been all that many cinema releases, but there are some
No,
coming up.
we got two today coming out, which I haven't seen yet, and I'm looking forward to both of them. So the first one, the big release this week, coming out today. We've been waiting a very, very long time for this. It's a sequel to a 1988 film. Can you believe it? A
Wow.
1988. Here we are in 2024. They're finally making a sequel. So the film is Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Now this is a sort of comedy, fantasy horror film. So in the original film, a young couple played by Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis are living in an idyllic little house in the countryside. They have a car accident. They die. They come back as ghosts, but they are unable to leave the confines of their own home. And the film
Okay.
introduced us to other dead characters and all sorts of stuff, weird stuff going on in the afterlife. And some very what happens is some very obnoxious people buy their home, and they decide that they're going to haunt them to get them out because they don't like these people who bought their home. So they try to spook them. They fail. So in the end, they have to call on a guy called Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is a dead guy who specializes in scaring the living. So they pay him for his services. It was quite a madcap, funny, surreal fantasy comedy. It was directed by Tim Burton, who is known for this sort of thing, Nightmare on Elm Street and Corpse Bride and Edward Scissorhands and those kind of films. I watched it again last night. I watched the original last night. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I've seen it a number of times. I saw it at the cinema when it came out. It's daft. It's totally daft. It's totally stupid, but it's one of those that's just great fun,
Yeah.
pure imagination. So now we get the sequel. In the original film, this dead couple befriend a little girl. This little girl is now grown up, living in the house, and again, somebody wants to come in and take over the house. So, Beetlejuice should be out. Is out today. You'll find it in every cinema going, and it looks really interesting. We can talk more about it next week. The
Awesome.
other new film that's out today, Nathan, is a film called Rob Peace. This is based on a true story, and the story is of a young man whose father is convicted for crimes that he didn't commit. And in order to raise money to get him out of jail, to raise his bail money, this young man turned to crime himself and did start committing crimes. He became a drug dealer and amongst other activities. And this film is based on this true story of a young man who loved his dad so much. His dad's in prison for falsely arrested. The young man turns to selling drugs in order to raise money to get his dad out of jail. It looks like quite a very dramatic drama. It should be in every cinema again. I think it will be worth going to see. So those are the two new films that are out today:
Yeah.
Beetlejuice and Rob Peace. And I think they both look good. One will be incredibly fun. The other is quite a heavy drama, but I think it will be a story worth seeing. It's got some good actors in it, and I think it will do well.
Yeah.
Other than that, Nathan, in cinemas, we are reduced again to reissues. And one thing I wanted to highlight is that cinemas, Odeon, Cineworld, and what have you, are reissuing all of the Batman films, at least not all of them, because I did some checking. Batman has been in over 30 different films
Wow.
since going way back to the 1930s. Okay, Batman has been around ever since the comic first appeared in the 1930s. A lot of people of my age, not your age obviously, but my age, will remember the 60s television show. I don't know if you've ever seen clips of it. It was a very madcap show. So when Batman and Robin were fighting the baddies, they would throw a punch and the word boof would appear on the screen.
Yeah.
They would knock somebody down and the word thud would appear on the screen. And it was just great fun. It was a brilliant TV series. They made a feature film of it. And the most memorable scene is in that feature film is that Batman is holding a bomb and he's trying to dispose of this bomb. And he runs down the road and he runs into a group of school children. So he turns around and he runs the other way and he runs into a bunch of nuns. And then he turns around and he runs the other way and he runs into a bunch of old people. And he turns the other way and he runs into a bus, And he looks at the camera and he says, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, And it's very, very funny. That was great. Then what happened was in the 80s, Tim Burton produced a film called Batman, which was very dark. The original comic books were not fun at all. They were really dark, quite heavy, serious, quite violent. So Tim Burton produced a film. Jack Nicholson played the Joker. Then a director called Christopher Nolan, who's made Interception and Arrival and
Mm.
Oppenheimer. He made three Batman films under the heading The Dark Knight. And what's happening is that Cineworlds are showing those films again. There was a series of animated. There was even a Lego Batman
I've
movie.
seen that one. That was great.
Yeah, I loved it.
That wasn't dark at all, was it?
You're going to be able to see that in cinemas. So
They're showing that one.
yeah. So Batman is coming back to our screens. A whole host of Batman movies. So we've had Star Wars back on our screens. Those are still showing. They're still showing all the old Star Wars films. Spider-Man back on our screens. They're showing all the old Spider-Man films, and now they're starting to run cinemas of Batman films. And it's really interesting because, as we have talked about the fact there hasn't been a great number of new releases. So cinemas are having to fill screens, they're having to show something because they haven't got a lot of new films to show. And I think this is partly to do with the economic climate, particularly perhaps in Hollywood, where a lot of new films are not being made. I think it's got to do with now with Christmas, with some films being held back, for Christmas period, and not a lot of new material. So cinemas are actually doing this, and I think that it's a good thing. It's nice to see, as we said last week, these old films on the big screen.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed going to see them on the big screen, but it depends as to whether people want to spend their money and go out. I mean, I have a Cineworld card where I pay £18 a month and I can go as many times as I like. And I go 3 or 4 times a week. Off to a press screening in London this afternoon. So that's it really. But of course, people may want to stay at home. Shall we have a little look at films that are showing at home?
Yeah, sure. Over the weekend. It'd be
Yeah.
great.
Okay. So these are all new to watch at home, and we'll do brief reviews of them. So first of all, Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Ah, yeah.
So again, this is another 80s film. This was a film about two black cops in Los Angeles who were buddies, and they argue all the time and they bicker all the time. They're basically trying to bust a drugs ring. And then there was another film, and then there was another one. This year we had the fourth one in which they were trying to rescue their captain who'd been framed for drug running. Okay, so actually similar sort of thing as what we were talking about with Roy Peace. Well, Peace. It's funny. It's really, really good. There's lots of action. There's lots of shootouts. There's lots of wisecracking one-liners. You would expect that with a Will Smith movie, you know. So that is now available to watch at home. Bad Boys Ride or Die. If you're into action, if you're into shootouts, cops and robbers, drug busts, having a lot of fun with a lot of action. One of my favourite films of the year is also now available to watch at home, which is Fall Guy. So this starred Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. And Ryan Gosling is a stuntman, and Emily Blunt is a director. And Ryan Gosling is the stuntman in Emily Blunt's film that she's making. So we watch Emily Blunt making a film. Ryan Gosling is the stuntman. But somebody in the real world has framed him for murder.
Oh.
Now, this again is based on a very, very old TV series that starred Lee Majors. Lee Majors was probably more famous for being the original $6 million man, and basically, it's great fun. Again, lots of action, lots of stunts. One of the great things about this film, given the day and age in which we live, is that they did the stunts for real. They did most of the stunts for real. They didn't use CGI.
Oh, that's good.
And that is so cool.
It
Yeah,
is.
that's really cool. And I love Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling is a very laid back actor. Almost doesn't take himself too seriously. Emily Blunt is a great actress. I mean, she was fabulous as Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins Returns. She's great in whatever she does. She's been great in the Quiet Place films. So Fall Guy, really, really good. There's an extended version available to watch at home with extra scenes that wasn't shown in the cinema. Now, I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not quite sure how much longer it is than the one that was in the cinema. But they do this sometimes with home viewing. They'll throw in extra scenes. So that's available to watch at home. Another one that was a big hit this year that I wasn't a massive fan of, I got to be honest, is Twisters. So again, another sequel. We had Twister back in the 80s where people were chasing hurricanes and twisters and tornadoes. And we followed a team of people trying to find out how twisters work, what forms a hurricane, what forms a tornado. Now we've got 4 or 5 teams of people all chasing, and they're all trying to be the first to get the information and on twisters. So it's sort of like a race movie, but that is now available to watch at home, which is really good. Sorry about that. There might be a ding there. And the other one, Nathan, available to watch at home, and we have talked about this one, is Despicable Me 4.
Oh, cool.
The great thing is that with some providers online, if you rent Despicable Me 4, you can actually get Despicable Me 3, number 3, along with it, free of charge.
That's good.
So, those are the ones to watch at home. Bad Boys Ride or Die, Despicable Me 4, Twisters, and Fall Guy. And that's it as far as this week goes, really. Again, a very, very quiet week in the cinema. As I say, I think there are economic conditions that are stopping companies making films. I think Christmas is coming. I mean, my Marks and Spencer's has already got their Christmas decorations up, which annoys me intensely.
Really?
Yeah, really. Crazy. And we are looking to see what will come. Can I just highlight one film for people to look out for in coming weeks? And we'll talk about it in full in coming weeks.
Yeah.
So sometimes we talk about faith-based movies. We had Ordinary Angels earlier this year. We had Jesus Revolution last year. So the company that has brought us the TV series The Chosen, they have produced a brand new film, which I've seen. Now, we're going to review when people get their next copy of Sorted magazine. For those who are listening, who subscribe, and we're both wearing Sorted gear today, which is fantastic. Steve Legg will be very, very happy. There is a review of this new film. So the new film is called Sound of Hope. Look out for it in coming week. We'll review it in full, but I just want to give people a heads up. Okay. So this is because what I'd love is for churches to begin to think about these faith-based films when they come out and say, let's take groups of people to see them. Let's organize a church outing and go to the cinema and see this film. So I want to plant the seed. Okay. So this is a lovely film, Sound of Hope. It's from the people who brought us The Chosen. It is a true story of a small community in the deep South in America where there is a Pentecostal church, and the pastor and his wife adopted 2 children. They then said to their congregation, why don't you follow our lead and adopt children as well? And every member of the congregation felt God telling them to do this. And they ended up as a church adopting 78 children.
Wow.
And the film tells the story. It tells the story of some of the children, what happened to them. It tells the story of there were a couple of sort of like rebellious children who obviously didn't want to go and live with a pastor and a minister and, all the rest of it. And some of these kids had really hideous, awful backgrounds, which is why they were being orphaned or adopted. Some of them had been abandoned at birth. But it is a really lovely, lovely film. It's not out yet, but I wanted to plant the seed because I want people to start looking out for it. Because I think that it's going to be, I hope it'll be a hit. I've seen it already. I think it's really good. So just keep your eyes and ears peeled for news. And in fact, you can go online, you can Google it, because it has already been out in America. So go online, Google Sound of Hope, have a look. Maybe, sometimes we think, how can we do some evangelism? How can we put on an evangelistic event? I was with a church this morning in Dunstable early on where we were talking about, yesterday where we were talking about what kind of evangelism can we do? Why not take people to the cinema, to see a film that's going to give them a really strong, positive gospel message?
Yeah.
Because there are several scenes in this film where we see the pastor preaching, and he preaches the gospel. Also, in that line, I mean, I'm available if anybody's listening and would like me to come to their church. I now do film evenings where we show clips from movies and we bring the gospel in and we have a quiz and we have a lot of fun. If anybody listening would like me to come to their church and do a film night, love to do that. Just get in touch via Pure. So I wanted to plant the seed, Nathan. Hope you don't mind.
That's fine.
But people Google Sound of Hope. Look out for it. Look out for it coming to your community. It will be available online before Christmas, and I'll give more information much nearer the time.
Awesome.
But Google Sound of Hope and begin to think, and let's think. How do we get the gospel across to people who aren't going to come to a normal Sunday morning service? They might come with us if we're taking a boatload of people to the cinema. They might come with us if they might come to an event where we show clips from movies and have some fun and some popcorn and maybe even some fish and chips, whatever, and have a quiz, and then just bring the story of Jesus in at the towards the end of the evening. Steve Legg does comedy and magic shows, these kind of things to get people thinking about Jesus, So just a little food for thought there, and get in touch. But that's the films for this week, Nathan.
Well, thanks so much, Andy. Some good reviews and some good films to look forward to.
Yeah.
And of course, Batman, most of the Batman films showing in
Most
the
of them,
cinemas.
yeah, most of them. And I was hoping they were going to show the 60s one, which is my era, as I say.
Yeah.
Because it's so fun. They used to have scenes with Batman and Robin climbing up the side of a building on a rope, And when you watch it, it is so obvious that they're crawling along the floor and they just turn the film sideways, And the 60s series was a pure joy.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Andy. Looking forward to hear about that. Was it Sound of Hope?
Sound of Hope. Yeah, we'll talk more about it nearer the time.
Yeah, that sounds good. And thanks so much.
Look out for it, people. Think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Thanks so much, Andy. Great to hear from you again.
God bless you and God bless Pure.
Here at Pure 24/7 Radio, we have had the privilege of speaking to some amazing people with amazing stories.
So I was already doing the work of an evangelist, and then I discovered that there was a term for it. And then I realized, I really wanted to learn more about the Bible and Christianity. So I went to theological college.
Most people think that my life as a marine biologist was spent riding on the back of a dolphin into the sunset.
That's my view.
Yeah, I did that. Never.
Been on the road 35 years, man and boy, doing magic and comedy to communicate the gospel. When I started off in 88, I was doing escapology. I kind of took that on from a friend of mine called Pete Gilbert, who was a real pioneer in creative communication.
If you have missed any of these interviews or would like to hear them again, you can. Simply head over to our catch-up section at www.pure247radio.org. That's www.pure247radio.org.